Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. This, wow, weird map artifact there. In the bottom left-hand corner, we have QXC as the purple Terran. Last time I had a commentary with him in it was during the CSL All-Stars. He was a really good player in the Collegiate Star League, and he's turning out to be an absolutely fantastic StarCraft 2 player, is one of the top players on the American server, widely respected, and I really like his style, honestly. In the upper left-hand corner, we have Sheth, aka Chosen, who during StarCraft 1, he's one of the top American, well, North American Zerg players. I would actually put him in the ranks of LZ Gamer Machine, top 5, at least top 10 Zerg in North America. Really, really good player. Last time I commentated him was for Yankee League, so I'm excited to have him in this match again. And this is going to be on Kulas Ravine for the, I think it's the second match of the round of 4 of the Gosucoaching weekly tournament. So if you haven't checked out Gosucoaching, go ahead and check that out. A little bit of a drone trick to get that extra supply to have the drone. A little bit of talk about point defense drones, but let me go over the map really fast. This is going to be a difficult map, and I assume it wasn't loser choice. Maybe it was just map sets ahead of time. Kulas Ravine is a difficult map for Zerg because of this extremely exposed natural expansion. And where the other races tend to take a little bit more delayed natural expansions, usually they go for kind of this rock. They'll use their units to destroy the destructible rocks, go take the much more well-protected highland, the highland expansion, and use that Zelnaga watchtower to keep an eye on these destructible rocks here on the corner, and then sometimes even move down and take the golden units from golden minerals from there. Looks like Chosen is scouting in the proper direction, by the way. But otherwise, this expansion, Zerg, usually because 2 base play is a lot stronger than 1 base play at large, and they can usually defend it on other maps. But here, you got 2 exposed, look at that, 2 entrances. You have this kind of map artifact, the high ground right here, where if you have Reapers coming at you early, they can hop back and down, really do a lot of harassment there. I've actually seen matches where Reapers have basically taken out hatcheries early from that, just kind of hopping up and down. You have just 2 destructible rocks in the corner if you're going for a little bit more of a delayed rush. Nice Overlord placement here by Chosen, making sure you can kind of keep a nice view over there. So there's a lot of options for harassment early on. Additionally, Hellions, I mean, they can just run rampant back here, just run along that backside. You can't really block them. Also, a wide choke that's not a ramp, hard to block off. Looks like that SCV from QXC is already scouting here. QXC looks like he's already gotten, it looks like he is going to go for that Hellion option. He's already got a barracks on his front door, produced front 2 Marines. I think Chosen is going to be able to see this though, because that factory's just kind of built a little bit on the corner. Either way, he was going to be able to see that reactor being built, and usually when you see that reactor, your first instinct has to be, I'm going to be seeing Hellions running all throughout my front door. It's a pretty strong opening, I say, on this map, I think, because again, Hellions can just run all over the place. You don't have to build a lot of them, and they just keep a Zerg back and on his toes and on the defensive. Gas now being placed on 22 supply, and really, that's the other problem is if you supply any drones to this natural expansion, they just get absolutely annihilated. It's almost impossible to really defend them. So you really got to wait for second queen and a good amount of roaches to kind of block off, and it can be really difficult. Opening up the destructible rocks early, just in case, kind of interesting play. We are seeing the shift between the factory, and nice from QXC, moving that factory ahead, just perfect timing, moving it just as scooting, just not wasting any time at all, kind of the signal of a really good player, and adding a tech lab on his barracks to produce a couple marauders just in case there's a counterattack of any kind immediately following the Hellion harass, and also putting down an armory, which is very unorthodox at this stage, so we'll see how that factors in later in the match. So obviously Reactor doesn't have any upgrades, but that is going to allow very, very quick Hellions to be pushing this front door. Queen already being produced. Destructible rocks are going to be opening, and I almost worry about these Zerglings because their lives are probably forfeit just because there's Hellions on the field. They just do a lot of damage very early. Roach Warren is up there for Chosen. Let's see if he can get out a couple roaches. He's going to need them to try to defend off, and I almost feel like it's more worthwhile to ignore do the Idra thing, especially on this map, and ignore the spawn larva right off the bat, because you really can't utilize spawn larva with the low resource count right early game, and a couple larvae being killed there at the natural expansion, and Chosen drawing those Hellions off, losing a couple Zerglings early, and a couple Roaches at least able to back them off, and actually one Hellion taking a decent amount of damage right there off the bat, and another one actually taking a little bit of damage as that Queen popped right out. So Chosen with some nice defense to kind of counter this, right off the bat, the factory being lifted back off, another barracks being built on that reactor, and we already have a Marauder in production after already a first Marauder on that front door, just in case Chosen decided to do kind of a quick counterattack. It's still a little bit of damage from that hatchery, but this is the thing, even with those, he's got to keep some units back, and I like that play right there from QXC, keeping an eye on that Zelnaga watchtower just in case these roaches start approaching. The thing is wow, nice micro, or maybe miss micro there from QXC, just really approaching and taking out those Hellions. Usually Hellions do have a range advantage. They have range 5 versus range 3, so if you micro them very carefully, you can actually whittle down roaches in open field pretty well, but not able to quite to sneak in and get a lot of damage done right there. And a Thor being produced early, very unorthodox play here from QXC. See how he fields that. Either way, he's going to have to be very aggressive with it and get some economic damage done, because he's already behind in the expansion war. He's down just flat unit per, and you can see just the 33 drones versus 27 SCVs. Yes, there's a mule alongside, but doesn't really it doesn't really equalize as much, so especially because Zerg units still pretty powerful, Spinecrawler precautionarily being placed, that'll help free up some of these roaches to maybe approach the field out. You won't have to be as defensive and deal with it, especially if a second Spinecrawler goes down. Some nice latent defense against any sort of rush or against any sort of Hellions trying to sneak by. So Thor has been produced, also a bunker on that front door. Now that Spinecrawler is just about finished and the second one being placed, these roaches starting to venture out in the field. And the Hellions now backing up, coming back to home base, and a Medivac being produced, the Thor right next to it. So we're going to see some Medivac Thor action, which I honestly think when Medivacs pick up Thors, it looks hilarious. This is going to try to cover that command center expansion for QXC. So it's interesting enough, he's building it more to the south as though he's going to take the expansion here, when really I feel like the rock expansion is a much better option. So now trying to work down that reactor. One roach gets annihilated. The second roach also gets wiped out. It's really hard to retreat with the, I don't think there is a concussive grenade. No, concussive shields have not been upgraded. And there it is, you can see it, and I just think that's hilarious. That makes me think of like Voltron or some sort of something, and this is going to be really hard for Chosen to deal with right this second, because his roach is completely out of position. They're not the fastest of units. He does have some Zerglings back in the field to deal with it, but basically the added mobility with this Medivac is going to make this Thor infinitely more dangerous, and this will help QXC hopefully even up some of that drone count issue he was having. He can actually come back and maybe open up the destructible rocks if he gets completely knocked back. But yeah, wow, finding the space completely exposed. Might be able to even take down this Queen. Queen needs to flee, is able to flee, but the Medivac going to scoop it right back up and hunt him down. The Zergling's trying to get us around. It looks like the Roach is right there as well, but determined to take out this Queen. And currently no anti-air. Second Queen moving up, and it's really critical that QXC can, that he take out these Queens. Because if he takes out these Queens before you see any Hydras, etc., and brilliant play moving it behind the destructible rocks. I really like the micro from QXC. He's now floating his own command center out. I wish he was taking out the high yield. More Medivacs and more Thors incoming here, so it's just going to get worse for Chosen as this continues. He really needs to get some Hydras out there to kind of deal with this, and as soon as he has Hydras out in the field, or even some, I guess, some Mutalisks, it could be very difficult to deal with. Evolution Chamber being planted in natural expansion, a little bit exposed, but still a little bit damage there, and he needs to be very careful. Might lose the dropship, doesn't lose the dropship. Dropship, well, actually does lose the dropship, everything being dropped right there, but that did create a little bit of delay. Didn't do as much damage as he was hoping. Did slow down the economy a bit, because instead of building drones, essentially what Chosen had to do right there is pump a lot of kind of anti-attack units, which is going to slow his economy down a little bit. Now that also allowed QXC to have a distractionary attack. All those units had to stay at home base while those Thors were out there, so he's going to be able to take this expansion. He's not going to need to make it into a planetary defense fortress. He can get that bunker, and he's going to continue to harass. And here's that high ground thing I was talking about. You plant on the high ground, you do some spotting, and you can do a lot of damage here. Overlord is there to kind of look, and oh, beautiful! Thor had enough energy to just completely annihilate that Queen and just leave a husk of a corpse right there. And that's really going to slow Chosen's economy down. Chosen must be extremely frustrated right now. More Overlords running up to this corner, but I'm curious why, oh, never mind, the rocks weren't completely taken out. I'm wondering if Chosen will actually open up that further at this stage. Continuing to store up Thors and Medivacs to get got a really annoying array army kind of pushing out the field, and you can see Chosen just trying to chase it down, push it out of the territory, and is a little bit successful in doing so. And really critically, what he's hurting on right now is that he needs to get that Hydralisk den. Needed that a bit sooner, would really help in countering this, because the Thor wouldn't be able to fly off, would have to engage on the ground. And Thors do pretty decent damage against Hydralisks, but ultimately they will die a lot more rapidly. But you can see now